some of the things he says, it should all make sense why you would take Milton, of what the coaching staff has told them what they need. Guys are going to buy in, guys are going to push, guys are going to bust their ass. So, this is what this coaching staff wants, and they're going to make it happen one way or another. This roster is going to continue to churn and change, and the staff's going to find a way to bring in the guys that they want to bring in. So.
Hey guys, it's Terrence Mann. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by No Game Day. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, a.k.a. E-Dub, in the house. So we're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by No Game Day. Go Live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by No Game Day. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, presented to you by No Game Day.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. FSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
We are live. We're talking live here. Florida State football, basketball now, everything, anything you name it. We're here on Hear the Spear this evening. I am Logan Robinson from NoleGameDay.com. With me this evening, Austin Veazey, our lead basketball writer at NoleGameDay.com. Busy man. He's actually typing while he's on this with us. He's been nonstop. Nate Greer, our lead recruiting insider. Things are heating up on his end too, obviously, with early National Signing Day coming up too. So we got some busy people on here this evening. Dustin and Karlos, it seems like they're just lollygagging, doing something on their own. But we're here to actually talk about a real football game that's about to happen this week, and also talk about FSU hoops. McKenzie Milton, the latest on him. Maybe some rumors on Jake Garcia that we'll chat about. We are going to preview the Florida State versus UF game, and then preview Florida State versus Duke. Give our thoughts on that and score predictions from both games. And that's about it, gentlemen. What's going on? Happy Thursday evening. Happy to see you guys again this week.
What's going on, man? How you doing? Game week.
How are we feeling?
Game week.
It is game week. I feel like now that school
it's game week and I don't care.
I think I'm excited. Anytime that there's a chance to watch football, I know Florida State's been pretty down this year, obviously. But whenever there's a chance to be, definitely if you're able to go to the stadium and be there and watch, I'm looking forward to it, because I just honestly, with COVID-19 and everything going on, it's great to have a distraction. That's like my stress reliever is football. I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy, like right now, I've got the Rams game on in the background, just stress reliever, and being able to go there is kind of my getaway. It's kind of like my drug, I guess you can say.
It's a bad drug to have.
Right now, yeah, for Florida State. My Steelers, though, before I get absolutely wrecked.
Washington?
Yeah, that
Washington.
That I just felt like that was coming. That should have been coming for a couple of weeks now.
You didn't see it was coming. You're talking all that shit about, everything. Now you can't say anything for the rest of the year because they lost to freaking Washington.
No, I just needed to get it over with. I allowed the team to do that.
That one loss out of the way as they go to the playoffs and choke in the first round?
No. I would have been more nervous about us going to the playoffs and not losing a game heading into that. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Might need to stop all the tick-tocking. Yeah. You know what? You need to stop. Eat your pudding, whatever that is. Is that yogurt?
No, this is Chick-fil-A ice cream.
Okay.
It's the best shit ever.
I was about to say, I made that. I used to work at Chick-fil-A. It is delicious. But Nate just got off of work. We're just kind of hanging out here. We got a lot to talk about, though, so I say we kind of jump right into it right now. It's finally game week. It's almost been a month since Florida State last kicked off. What are you guys feeling? What's y'all's thoughts, initial reaction that we actually have a game? Or will there be a game this weekend? It feels like we won't hear – I don't trust it until – I think I will say until the – but hits leather on Saturday afternoon.
But there's rumors going around that both teams have another increase in COVID cases.
Oh, are you hearing that? Is that a baby nugget?
I don't know how. It's a rumor going around the interwebs. Is that both teams have some questions on numbers for the weekend? So,
See, now,
don't know if that's necessarily valid, but I've seen a couple people, and I haven't really talked to anyone about it. But it wouldn't surprise me.
I knew there was some rumors and some talk about on Florida State's side at the beginning of the week on Monday, and I think that kind of slimmed down quite a bit. It was mainly one guy tested positive for COVID, and they had to do a lot of contact tracing, but Florida State ended up practicing that day.
Well, if they change the testing protocol like they said, we should hear somebody tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah, that would probably be the ideal. That would be the ideal. That'd be the ideal.
Assuming the ACC has their ducks in a row.
Yeah, that's assuming. Yeah, I was about to say the caveat is they get their shit together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be very ideal for a lot of people traveling. I think so many people have been traveling up from Florida or wherever across the country to come to these games or wherever, definitely in the state of Florida, and they're in the middle of their drive getting to Tallahassee, and they get the news that it's been postponed, canceled, blah, 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 and completely ruins their whole weekend. Luckily, though, I mean, if you do come up here and the football game gets canceled, you do have a pretty nice, if you're able to find tickets, you got a pretty nice matchup with Florida State and Florida coming on Saturday at 11 a.m. But I'm excited. We finally get to talk about a game here, which we'll preview in a few minutes, but it'll be nice. And I think this is good for Florida State and these young cats to get out there. So we'll get into it in just a little bit. Let's jump into Florida State versus Indiana last night. They come out of the win and overtime, 69-67. This game just wasn't going to end. I felt like we were going to go into midnight and it was going to be like second overtime. I mean, just took forever. I completely forgot how much I love college basketball with how long a minute is. Whenever people tell me, the game's going to be over in like 5 minutes, whenever there's like 1 minute left, no, that's 30 minutes. Definitely when it comes to Florida State games, but football and basketball, for some reason, these games love to take absolutely forever. But yeah, what are your first takes, Austin, on that? Pretty good win there for the Noles.
It's a huge win. Come the end of the season, Indiana's going to be, I think, a top 4 or 5 Big Ten team, and that's more than you can say about any ACC team right now because they're all doing horrible so far in non-conference. We don't even have to talk about Duke and Carolina, but it's just Florida State looks like the best team right now when they barely squeak past Indiana, who's probably 4th or 5th. That just shows you how good the Big Ten is. We can start with the officiating since you kind of already brought it up. The length of the game was mainly due to replays that were completely unnecessary and took way too long, even if they were necessary. The final 6 minutes, and that's the final minute of regulation, and the 5 minutes of overtime took 40 minutes of real time, and that's embarrassing for not only the ACC but for college basketball. When it's on ESPN, it's on national TV, everybody's seeing this because this is arguably the best game of the night after Virginia and Michigan State got canceled. Everyone's watching this game, and to have it put on display how bad your officiating is, just for that, is embarrassing. But then just so many calls, you just shake your head going, what are they thinking? And Jay Billis was on top of it. Credit to him. He was not having any of it on the broadcast. He was calling out every single bad call. The offensive foul on Scotty Barnes, that should have been a block.
That was horrible.
It was so bad.
It was so bad.
There was the jump ball after he got a steal. I still don't understand that one. MJ's offensive foul and then MJ's travel in overtime. Neither one I understood. There's so many calls on Florida State side where you go, what's going on here? And then you have the no timeout at the end of regulation for Indiana, which to me is the correct call, but it's one of those calls where it could have gone either way depending on the official. And these officials decided, well, he's falling out of bounds. I'm not going to let him have this timeout. And a lot of Indiana fans are not happy about it.
I'm surprised they didn't call traveling on Barnes on the game winner.
They shouldn't have. I
know it wasn't. It wasn't.
I know Logan saw the Indiana fan complaining about it.
Just
slowing it down in microcosms.
Yeah, the 1-2-3 with the 2 popping up real quick.
Yeah, with the 2 not even on the screen. It was one of those where he just barely scraped his foot. No ref's gonna be able to see that in real time.
I love the Indiana.
He's so long.
Indiana has like out of nowhere they come out of their like caves and they have like 10 Twitter people that come at you like crazy. It happened like last year and it happens now, but they just kind of come out of nowhere at you. I mean, they're pretty brutal.
Yeah. I mean, they're the Miami of college basketball. They were really successful in the 80s, had one good season in the early 2000s, and they think they're the guy because of it.
Yeah.
Scotty Barnes, obviously, in overtime, he was amazing. You know, even without the game winner, he had that 3-pointer, just balls to the wall. He said, okay, you're going to give me a few inches, I'm going to shoot it, and tied the game up. That was a huge shot for a true freshman who's had some shooting struggles these first 2 games. I loved it. I love the confidence. I love him just being, this is my moment, I'm going to do this. And then the game winner obviously was fantastic.
Yeah, no, Scotty. I think first off, my takes so far, last 2 games that we've seen him, he's a true rookie in this. But his offense, his passing, I think, can obviously get better and getting the ball around. But him being able to take these, come in clutches though. You know, you get the big 3-pointer, and then obviously you get the game winner at the end. But that's coming from a true freshman. So game by game, you think Austin that the passing obviously will get better. More practice.
I think it's
game time.
I think his passing's really good for someone that he was in high school. He played on an all-star team, and he was asked to be a playmaking 3/4. Now he comes to Florida State. He's playing a position he's essentially never played before, at least not at this level.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have an off season really, so he's trying to learn on the fly on how to run this really complicated offense that took Trent Forrest 2.5, 3 years to really master. And you're seeing the growing pains with that. I think he's a great distributor for where he's at in his development. It's really the scoring and picking up the finer things. Like, he's got to attack ball screens better. I'm going to talk about it in my Florida preview. That'll be out tomorrow. He's just got to get downhill faster. He's too big and he's too quick for people to be stopping him like he is. He's thinking too much instead of just reading and reacting. It's one of those, throughout the season, he's going to be much better. By the time we hit conference play, he's going to be a much different player.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, before he jumped on, I turned that game off because every time I did, Florida State made a run. So, I took one for the team.
Yeah, thanks for doing that for us.
I watched the final 2 minutes, but, I thought that Barnes would be a little bit better offensively than he has been so far. But I think once he figures things out, he's going to be just ridiculous. Defensively, we talked about it the last podcast, just how long and wide he is. His wingspan. I mean, it's just ridiculous to put him at the top of the key. I mean, he's special on defense, and once he figures out offense, I mean, Florida State's gonna be tough to beat.
His scouting report has always started with defense and playmaking, and when you can start with those 2 things while the offensive game develops, you're gonna have a very good player. Last night, he was tied for Florida State's best defender with Raekwon Gray, who I think's been phenomenal through 2 games on the defensive side.
I mean, Patrick Williams got off to a slow start last year offensively, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just different.
He was just starting to hit his stride, too, before he was out for a couple games.
Yep.
It's going to be a very similar situation, but the fact he's performing so well defensively is going to allow him to stay on the floor and allow him to keep developing, which I think is huge.
I like to see him go for like 20 and 10 versus Florida.
Oh, if that happens.
It's over?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know who they're going to put on him, honestly. Yeah. I know Trey Mann's, he's grown a little bit over the offseason, but they've got a fairly short lineup. Pretty much their 1 through 4 are all 6'3" to 6'5". So I'm curious to see what they do with Scotty Barnes. But going back to Indiana, MJ Walker with 19 points, including just an absolutely gutsy shot at the end of regulation to go up.
Yeah.
That whole play was not how it's supposed to go. It was supposed to be a lob to Balsha, and you could see it on the replay. It was open the entire time. But Scotty just played it safer, kicked out to MJ, and MJ's like, okay, I'll shoot it, and just nailed it.
That's huge from a big-time leader.
Yeah, but that's all he did. He only scored 19 points. I think he had 1 rebound and 1 assist. That was it. He had 5 turnovers, 2 of which we already talked about were horrible. They shouldn't have been turnovers. But but getting that out of a 4-year senior, a guy that, last year we were talking about, he's been really inconsistent throughout his career. Well, not through 2 games. He had a 17-point game against UNF and 19 points against Indiana when you really needed him to have 19 points.
Mm-hmm.
Raekwon Gray, I thought was the best player for Florida State last night. Just did absolutely everything. 12 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Best defender. He was poking plays from behind. And you could tell when he wasn't in the game because the defense started to falter a little bit. When he was out there, Florida State's just a different animal defensively.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be on Florida's best player on Saturday. We'll talk about that later. And I think that bodes well for Florida State because he's been awesome through 2 games. If he keeps playing like he has, he's not going to be in Tallahassee next year because he's got a skill set that NBA teams absolutely love.
Who's that?
Turk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's NBA talk about him last year, and that was with no offensive game. Now he's shooting the ball. He's driving confidently.
Yeah, the driving, I think, is a big game changer. You can tell with how his body he worked on his body this offseason, where he's able to be a lot more handling the ball better, but also going in for drives. And he's fun to watch, and he's all over the place for a guy that size is impressive to me.
He's 6'8", 260. I mean, that's hard to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Balsha Koprivica was, again, really impressive. I'm super impressed with his development from last season to this season. He's got such a great touch around the rim. He's the most natural offensive big Florida State's had. And that's not a stretch. That's no discredit to Fiondu. Fiondu is more developed. Balsha's just pure natural talent. He went with 12 points and 8 rebounds. He did foul out. He had a couple of dumb fouls. Those will go away throughout the season. But he's hungry. He's hungry on the glass. He's automatic around the rim, really soft touch. He's going to eat on Saturday night. Florida's bigs are not great, whereas Indiana's bigs were really good. Trace Jackson-Davis is an absolute man-child.
Yeah, that's pretty impressed with him, man. He's a worker, too. Like, he's a good basketball player.
Takes the fouls.
Like, he does the dirty work, man. He's like his dad. He's like his dad was.
Yeah, it's not often you see someone go for 25 and 17 and lose.
Yeah.
I mean, we're used to the Bryce Johnson games where he went for 35 and 21, and Marvin Bagley, same thing. He went for 30 and 20. You're used to seeing those kind of games in Florida State losing. But outside of Trace Jackson-Davis, Indiana just didn't have anybody. No one else scored more than 9 points, and they really couldn't contribute. Mm-hmm. But Jackson-Davis is a different level of a player. He's going to be I wouldn't be surprised if he's first-team All-American, Big Ten Player of the Year.
Yeah,
by the end of the season.
He was impressive for sure. He was the one leading the whole team to any kind of competition last night for Indiana. Kept them in it.
And
numerous times.
The first half, Florida State played him super well. They were making life super hard for him, making all of his catches tough away from the block. The second half, he was just getting what he wanted when he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Really confident player. You could even see it from the free throw line. He went 9 for 12 and just a really confident stroke to tie the game up there at the end. That giving up that kind of performance isn't worrying because you don't play another team or a player like that the rest of the season outside of maybe UNC, but they don't have the offensive firepower that Trace Jackson-Davis does.
I know, like, we're not going to spend any time on it tonight, but, man, the ACC looks shitty. I know you kind of said it, but, like, Carolina, Duke, have signed all those guys, and then Virginia. I mean, it's wide open for FSU to take this.
Florida State's the best team in the conference right now. They're the only one that's shown any sort of life outside of Clemson. I think Clemson's really good. But Duke's got 2 non-conference home losses. That hasn't happened since, I think, 1982 or something like that. I think UNC's fine. They had a bad matchup against a really, really great Iowa team that just could not miss. But I still think they're past the point of being national contenders every year, like we were used to seeing at the beginning of the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia's a lot different because they don't have the same guards to create, and their bigs are just horrible defensively. It's given up a lot. But we also haven't seen them play in, I think, a week and a half now because of COVID. They were supposed to play Michigan State. That got canceled. I think Florida State's the best team in the conference right now. I don't think that's much of a stretch compared to what we've seen out of the rest of the conference. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we get to conference play. Duke just announced they're not playing any more non-conference games. So basically when they come back, Florida State's their 3rd game back. They're playing Notre Dame, Pitt, then us. it'll be interesting to see how they look with no more time to tinker with lineups, because it's really what they need. They need game rest for them to get better.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, Florida State looked like a team playing the second game of the season, but they still found a way to win.
And they're playing against
Florida State would have won that game a few years ago.
No.
Let's just call it what it is. So, and they're playing against a team at fifth game, and I think will be, like Austin said at the start, is going to be a team that's going to be there at the end of the year.
And Indiana runs the same defense Virginia does. They run that same pack line defense that is notoriously brutal to score on. To me, scoring 60 points on a pack line defense is really good. You score 60 points against Virginia, you're like, wow, that's a really good offensive performance. It's not going to be the same the rest of the way you're going forward. Pack line's a really tough defense to learn. That's why a lot of teams don't run it. But when teams run it, they run it really, really well.
I was going to say something. 10. That was a crazy stat that ESPN was talking about last night. 10 straight overtime wins for Florida State, which is that's an insane stat.
I mean,
That's nuts.
What's more impressive, 10 straight overtime wins or 40 straight non-conference home wins? Both of those are absurd stats.
The stats are getting crazy now.
I think 10 straight overtime wins is more impressive.
That's wild.
I mean, because those can go either way. You know, I think winning 10 straight, that.
Leonard knows how.
So they can finish.
Mm-hmm.
They've got some really great late game offensive sets. I mean, we saw Florida State run it over and over last night. Was the European pick and roll, which is just the play where MJ got that three at the top of the key. Basically, the big's going to come set a screen. Someone's getting the screen for the big to potentially get a rim roll, and then the second screener pops out for a three. It gives you a ton of options, and Indiana really didn't know how to cover last night, which is why Florida State went back to it over and over and over. We're used to seeing the little flip back that Trent Forrest got over and over for the past 4 years. We're going to see that a lot on Saturday. Florida runs it. But it just shows what this staff has. Just game to game, they can realize, hey, this is what's going to work right here. Let's keep going back to it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like. We're only 2 games in, but it's just fun watching them. It has been the last couple of seasons, but I think you also are definitely on Twitter. You're seeing an amount of people now really keeping up with the basketball team, and the football being down helps that, but still it's fun to be on Twitter, and you see the roller coaster of people happy and they're like, oh, we're losing, we're done, we're not going NIT bound.
There's still a heavy football mindset.
Yes,
because football is one of those sports where one play changes an entire game and season. It's not that way in basketball. You can afford a couple bad plays here and there. One loss isn't going to wreck your entire season. Yeah. There's still a little bit of that mindset, but it's fun to watch fans really be engaged with the games.
Can I get your take on this, Austin? So Coach K, and we got to hear about it from Jay Annoyingness, that's what I call him, on ESPN last night, just talking about, we spent 10 minutes on it, on both COVID, but mainly Coach K, and then also whatever else he spent 10 minutes on, talking about the other conferences, but mainly Coach K saying, just griping about how the NCAA is, not looking out for players or whatever. The season just shouldn't be going on, or they should have a break or something like that. Well, no shit, Coach K, you want that. You've been losing to teams that you shouldn't be losing to this season. No wonder. What a huge shock there, buddy.
Yeah, I agree and disagree. I mean, I think
they just announced, Duke announced that they do not intend on playing any out of conference games anymore.
Yeah. Realistically, if they were undefeated right now, he wouldn't be saying this. But at the same time, he's right. NCAA went in with a horrible plan for this. They've had no plan. They've just said, okay, here's the schedule, go play. And it's tough for these kids. They're basically becoming essential workers where they're being tested every single day. They're not allowed to leave their apartments. It has to be tough on them. And, I wish they'd gone in, maybe waited a couple months. I would have been perfectly fine with pushing the season back to start in January, and then you don't have the tournament start until May. I would have been okay with that. You give more time to develop a plan, let these kids be safe so they can play more games. It's really tough on them. I see both sides of it, but again, obviously he wouldn't be saying this if they'd won every game.
Hot take, May Madness sounds better than March Madness. Come after me, cancel me on Twitter. May Madness sounds better.
It's a bad take. Really
Sure
bad
the basketball people are going to cancel me. I'm done now. But yeah, Florida State gets the overtime win against Indiana. They move on to 2-0. We're going to talk about it here in a few about the Florida State versus UF game, the rivalry game on Saturday. That's happening at 11 a.m.
We're quick. What do you think the over under is on games played this year for college?
Like average per team?
Yeah, it's just total.
Most teams got like a 25 to 27 game schedule.
I don't even think make it halfway.
I think they make it to 18.
18?
Yeah, I think they make it to 18. Some teams like Florida State, where you have Coach Hamilton, who is the biggest germ freak I've ever met. I'd be surprised if a lot of cancellations come from his side. But there's some of these other teams that you really can't depend on.
I spotted the glove he was wearing.
Yeah. Glove, the mask. A lot of people can't see it, but like even for regular games, not during COVID, he keeps a bottle of hand sanitizer on the scorer's table right next to him that he uses after every single timeout. So this
I always wondered why he's doing this.
Yeah, this isn't just a one-season thing. He does after every single time.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I love it. Let's jump into it here. Let's get back into a little bit of football. Obviously, the big topic of the last week and a half so far has been McKenzie Milton, the UCF grad transfer. He has actually back at home now in Hawaii, which is pretty interesting, spending some family time over there. And a lot of interesting things going on, Nate. We've talked about it on here last week. We've been very pro on if Florida State were to pursue that it'd be a good, and I think Karlos agreed. I think all of us agreed, most part, that this would be a good get for Florida State and bringing the guy into the locker room. But following the follows, Dustin's missing out. # follow the follows.
I know.
Here we are. We're talking about it.
Even Coach Atkins followed him today.
Yeah,
Dustin's missing out on everything. Let's be real.
Dustin really is kind of. I don't know what's going on with Dustin. I think it's around Christmas time. You know, he's cuffed, so he's got his girlfriend. I call her wife practically, but he's whipped beyond belief during this time of year during Christmas, and got to cuddle when it gets cold out. He's got to cuddle and cuddle up with her. You know.
Yeah, I get it.
But can we even call him lead editor when I'm editing and publishing my own articles?
No, you can't call him that. You cannot. Yeah. But going back to the follows, Florida State's graphic designer Clayton Campbell, who is known for doing commitment edits, most recently followed McKenzie Milton on Instagram and also Twitter. Also, like Nate just said, Alex Atkins has followed McKenzie Milton. Is this thing practically done, you think, Nate? Are we just waiting?
I mean, nothing's ever done until it's done, but I think the writing's on the wall. I think we'll hear something pretty soon, something official. I think it's almost too obvious at this point.
Yeah.
So, and Florida State does need to get a little bit more experience in the quarterback room, a little bit more. I think we've talked about McKenzie and if he's healthy, if he's ready to go. But for me, it's just the mentality that he could bring, the experience and the leadership at that position. So no, it's a net positive either way, whether he's a starter or whether he's gets beat out and doesn't play. But I think we can all see the writing on the wall, and I think that it's a good move. It's a win-win situation. I don't really see any negatives in it taking this kid.
I don't see a lot of negatives either. I guess some people would say maybe.
I know some people are like, "Oh, how's it going to impact Jake Garcia?" But
yeah, that's another thing. We're going to talk about that too, because I think you and I have the same takes on that whole situation. But I think some people might say, "Oh, what about Chubba Purdy? How does this affect him?" Maybe they'll. I mean, some people will say maybe Tay Rodemaker, but still, it's mainly Chubba Purdy here. What do you think that affects Purdy heading into the next season, or even Jordan Travis? I mean, it still affects Jordan Travis too.
I mean, I think competition breeds success. So, if anything, it's going to lift the quarterback room. It's going to improve the quarterback room because now you got to compete with someone that's proven to get results. So, I mean, if anyone doesn't want to compete, they're not the right guy, especially at quarterback. So there's going to be competition anywhere you go. That's why you see all these kids in the portal right now, especially at quarterback. But it'd be a 1-year thing. It's not long term. I get it if it was a freshman, coming in. I think that'd be more of a hit on the tenure of a Chuba or Rodemaker. But the 1-year thing. This year's free. It allows maturity on and off the field. So it's not guaranteed that if he comes that he starts. Let's just put it out there for sure. You don't know yet. Yeah, the word is that he was doing really well against UCF's defense, but you don't know until if it is in fact a done deal and he does come. You don't know yet until he goes out there and plays.
If that's the case, he's going to have a really good time against Florida State's defense in practices.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't know. There's a lot of there's too many unanswered questions to really sit here and then go on and debate about how it impacts the current quarterbacks. But we're such a fragile fan base that now we're going to freak out on. We're not going to celebrate a good grad transfer. We're going to now freak out about the younger guys and who leaves and what's it going to do to Travis come on.
Yeah.
We should be, we should be happy with the competition in the room.
Yeah, most certainly. Very, very talented quarterback. I think the best part about it is he's
Jameis as a freshman made EJ better.
Mm-hmm.
Jameis wasn't going to beat out EJ as a senior, but he made him better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I think a good locker room addition too, in my opinion, a team that desperately would like to have that kind of leadership and a guy that has gone through adversity and has won some games. Obviously at UCF, star. I think the best part about him too is how smart he is, and obviously his arm, but just how smart he is. I just don't remember really. Obviously, I'm not going to say too much on that, but you know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, I have an interview coming with Anthony Whedon, the guy who took the preferred walk-on. That should be up in the next day or two. And some of the things he says, it should all make sense. Why you would take Milton, of what the coaching staff has told them what they need. Guys are going to buy in, guys are going to push, guys are going to bust their ass. So. This is what this coaching staff wants, and they're going to make it happen one way or another. This roster is going to continue to churn and change, and the staff's going to find a way to bring in the guys that they want to bring in. So,
yeah, no, I agree. We'll keep an eye on it. There's not really been a timetable for when this may become official, if it's still in Florida State's favor. But we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Make sure you guys are in the Discord as always.
I put my 5 out of 5 on the prediction in the Discord today.
You did put your prediction in there. The predictions are back.
Yeah.
Football recruiting predictions are back, along with maybe what's going on with Jake Garcia. A lot of rumors the last 48 hours that maybe Florida State's in the mix for him, also 4-star quarterback.
And there's been some
decommitted from USC, but it seems like
there's been some people talking about
these rumors kind of seem a little interested. I don't think I at least on my end, I have not heard anything about this whole thing of Jake Garcia and Florida State. Like that's actually some strong talks going on, but
yeah, I think that
I think it's just
Florida State is. Recruiting him, but you have to go with the obvious, and for me that's Miami, and I'll hold my personal opinion on him, to see where he goes. I just think that there's a better answer at the end of the day than a guy who's been in 4 or 5 high schools. Part of it is
What does that
I
mean
mean-
to you? What does that mean to you?
I mean, part of it is coming over to play football his senior year. I understand that, but for me, a quarterback that goes to multiple high schools, um, you know, I would be concerned about the leadership and about a guy who this is, not necessarily, Garcia alone. This is just like any, this was one of my concerns with Malik Henry is he's been to quite a few high schools. What does that mean for him as a player? Is he not coachable? Is he a turd? Is he not a leader? And oftentimes it proves to be a factor that carries over in college. So, there are outliers. I talked about on Twitter a lot. I've always talked about guys who decommit more than once. They eventually are going to be busts in college. The only guy I can really think of that would be an outlier is Dalvin Cook. But not many kids with Dalvin Cook in terms of being a talented football player. So I just don't think it bodes well for when a premier quarterback at the premier position is going to several high schools.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different for sure. I just think it's kind of just rumors just to have fun with it. I don't know. I don't think there's crazy amount. Of course, Florida State's probably recruiting.
If he comes,
if I think go ahead.
The boomer bust guy. He's either going to be really good or he's going to be someone that's in the portal in a year or two and goes to 2 to 3 colleges. That's just how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
My opinion. Of course.
Yeah. I want to talk about this viral video before we jump in the FSU versus UF preview. This viral video that went out, I tweeted out. I didn't know if I should really say anything or not, but I was like, screw that. And I'm just itching to tweet it. This viral video of this coach that is in a 9-year-old whatever football league, and the video's gone viral of him hitting the kid. 2 kids? I believe it was 2 kids. Yeah, 2 kids, 9-year-olds, in the head multiple times. We're not talking just a tap on the head or not. We're not even talking close to what Jimbo Fisher would do to Jameis. This was talking about straight up, if the helmet was not on, the kid would have been in some severity. I mean, that was brutal to watch. I mean, this code, I'm not even going to call him coach. This man was just hitting these 2 kids, and it was absolutely rough to watch. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. You can check it out on my Twitter, but just absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know how the parents didn't go over there and jump his ass. That was my first question. Where is the refs, obviously? What about even the other coach that was next to him didn't do anything, but where the dads at? Nate, you're a dad. What? I mean,
I ripped the shit out of the guy. I would have got arrested.
Yeah.
You could have arrested me because there's no way you should ever be doing something like that. You're these guys' first interaction in the football. Those guys look like they're Mighty Mites, Pee Wees, that age group. Nah, man, that's just not acceptable. These are. It's not acceptable to put your hands on a player. So I'm not saying that, but these are young kids. You should know that. These guys are maybe the first time playing football, don't know the rules, don't really know the game. It's more of a introduction into football, and to take yourself serious enough to smack the shit out of 2 kids. I'm sorry.
Yeah, one of the kids fell down from a head hit, you're straight to the head.
Where's the mom? Where's the mom? Where's the dad? I don't know, man. It's just not acceptable. I know there's been a lot of outrage. Everyone saw. I think Camardi's retweet about it. I agree with him. You couldn't keep me from not physically approaching that coach. I'm sorry. That's just not acceptable.
I say this as someone that
even as a parent on the team, I don't know if I would have been able to control myself, even if it wasn't my kid, and seeing him do that. I don't know if I'd be able to control myself.
Yeah, I say this as someone that used to coach that same age group. You cannot take yourself seriously as a coach, you can't take the game serious enough to do that to a kid.
Mm-mm.
It's for them. It's more about learning the game, them having fun. Yeah, you want to win, but at the end of the day, these kids are there to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get better. They want to learn. You can't be doing this as a coach. I'm with you, Nate. If that was my kid, I would have been losing my mind. Just
coach older kids if you can't handle that.
Yeah, you would have had to drag me off that field away from that coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he should have been jumped.
And it's just as embarrassing for the assistant coach standing right next to him going, yo, what are you doing? Like,
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There's nothing the kid could have done at all whatsoever for him to even be laying his hand on him whatsoever like that. First of all, number one. And then secondly, two kids and then you're probably cussing around. Like, I'm not calling him a coach. I just think he's I'm just going to call him piece of shit and or scumbag. And I think he had an apology video out there or something like that. And people were wondering if it was could end up not being his kid or maybe one of them was. It was just ridiculous. He shouldn't see a field again. He should be investigated right now. If not, he probably is already. Just shouldn't be allowed whatsoever. That's ridiculous. Someone should. He should just. The dad should have rushed him. But I just wanted to talk about that since that was a viral thing in the last couple of days being talked about. More on like a brighter note right now that while we're recording this live on Thursday night, Cam Akers is having a game. I don't have the stats on me, but I just keep on watching Twitter and I have the game over here. But Cam Akers is balling. He's definitely now the starting running back. They still have guys in the backfield like Henderson, I believe. That's there for the Rams too. But Cam Akers is having a phenomenal game.
89 yards at the half.
Yeah, that'll do it. That's nice. And the Rams blocking has gotten really, really better. They have good wide receivers blocking too. Kupp is good. Just giving Akers room. He probably doesn't know what in the hell this is, man. Going from Florida State to this right now, and then I was like, holy smokes. And he's only just going to get better too as a rookie. And it just goes to show, man, Dalvin Cook, the Cook and Akers show, the next 5+ years, 6, 8. Love to see it. Florida State versus UF, number 20, Florida State. What do you think? You think Florida State's going to move up? How much do you think, Austin, if you think that's the case?
I mean, it depends on what happens after Florida.
Of course, Florida, yeah.
I mean, who knows? They already should be in like the 17 to 18 range, and the voters already don't like Florida State that much anyways. I mean, we already see the Jeff Goodman tweets where he's at 24th right now. I would say somewhere in the 14, 15 range if you beat Florida. Just because, I mean, there's not a lot of great college basketball teams. Iowa looks good. Baylor looks good. Gonzaga looks amazing. But other than that, it's pretty wide open.
Gonzaga's got to be the favorite right now. They look really good.
Who?
Gonzaga.
Yeah, for sure.
They got to be the favorite.
They look unreal. That is one team I do not want any part of. I'll take my chances on anyone else, but not Gonzaga.
Yeah, so jump us into this game, obviously, a rivalry game. Florida State has owned Mike White, Leonard Hamilton's son, for what, 6, 7 years now?
6.
6 years, going to run on to probably 7. We'll see. Don't want to talk it too much up, but 11 a.m. tip-off.
Sucks.
Funsies.
I hate it.
So stupid. So stupid.
They should have flipped it.
They shouldn't even cared about what Florida State football's game was.
Put the Duke game at noon. Put Florida State, Florida basketball at 8 o'clock. A lot of people are going to watch that.
Now, hold up now, Austin. Might be a little hungover on Saturday morning, so that 4 p.m. might help me. I think it should have been like a 4 p.m. for FSU versus Duke, and then most certainly, I don't give a damn if Florida State's game is still going on against Duke. Put FSU versus UF at 8 p.m. or put it at 9.
Then you can do a basketball watch party in the football stadium. Like, you make more money.
Yeah, you could do a lot of things with it. I don't understand the whole, 11 a.m. What is this? That's ridiculous.
Sucks. And it's on ESPNU instead of being on a primetime game and channel.
That just tells you how bad Florida is, man.
They're good.
It bumps Florida State down to a level tier network.
It shows you what they've done in the past, but they're good this year. I really like them this year. I mean, because once they got into conference play last year, they started hitting their stride, and they were really good. They were one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the SEC last year, and they returned pretty much everybody. The 2 pieces that they lost, they were good players, but it was more addition by subtraction because they slowed the pace down. Now they look like a carbon copy of Florida State. It's unbelievable. Obviously, there's some things that are different, but their offense is clunky. It's the pre-John Isaac, Dwayne Bacon Florida State. It's exactly what they are, just with better athletes. Offense is really, really clunky. They've got some amazing shooters. Keontae Johnson, Trey Mann, Noah Locke, all shooting 50% or better from 3 is insane. But when they don't get those easy shots in transition, it's really a lot of pass. The shot's not there, drive, 2 dribbles, pass, wash, rinse, repeat, just over and over for 30 seconds. It sucks. It's not much fun to watch. And it's also really tough to tell what they're good at and what they're not good at, because the 3 teams they played so far have been Army, Boston College, and Stetson. They've just been bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic than the 3 teams they played so far. So they're getting what they want, which leads to some inflated numbers so far to begin the season. Through 3 games, averaging 84 points a game, 50% from the floor, 36.4% from 3. Keontae Johnson's averaging almost 20 points and 6 rebounds. Trey Mann, 15 points, 4 assists. Noah Locke, 11 points. Scotty Lewis, 11 points and 6 rebounds. Like, they're putting up some absurd numbers, but they've also not really played anybody.
Yeah. What's Florida State's biggest advantage too? Like, what's the advantage for Florida State in this game, and what's the disadvantage?
Biggest advantage is the post. Balsa Koprivica is going to abuse Florida's post defense. No discredit to Omar Payne and Colin Castleton for Florida. Omar Payne was someone Florida State really, really wanted. They really coveted him in that recruiting cycle. But they're just not good right now. Neither of them have much post defense. Payne falls for every single pump fake in the post. And, I mean, through 2 games, Balsa's pump fakes and little head moves.
He's going to foul out he's going to foul in the first half.
Yeah, and then Castleton's just skinny. I mean, he's 6'10", maybe 200 pounds. He's not going to be able to keep up with Balsha, who's been punishing people down low right now. It would not surprise me at all to see Balsha go for 18 points and 12 rebounds on Saturday morning. He's just absolutely going to abuse them. And then a disadvantage, Florida's 3-point shooting's amazing. If you lose these guys in transition, you give them an inch of space, they're going to pop and they're going to make it. It's kind of scary, but they've also had these things in the past. I remember vividly the 17-18 Florida team. They had Jalen Hudson. They had the Russian kid, Igor. I forget his last name. They had 3 or 4 guys that were great shooters, and then they go up against our length, and they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a pebble. So maybe that'll happen again this game. They weren't great shooting last year against us either. It's a big test for both teams. You know, Florida's got a lot of experience coming back that really finished the season off strong, and they're trying to prove something against the Florida State team that's whooped them the last 6 seasons. The last 3 seasons alone, Florida State's won by an average of 16.7 points per game. That's not going to happen this game. It's going to be a much, much closer game. Florida defensively does a lot of the same stuff Florida State does. They don't switch everything, and they're not as heavy in the gaps, but everything else is there as far as help side defense, you know, rotating when things are going to the middle. Everything else there is the same. And then offensively, they really want to get out in transition. That's where they're at their best. That's where Florida State's at their best. Florida State's going to want to make this as ugly of a game as possible. You know, through 3 games, Florida allows 10 offensive rebounds, commits 23 fouls, and turns it over 14 times a game. When you're doing that against Army, Boston College, and Stetson, you're going to do that a lot more against Florida State.
Don't know how hungover I'm going to be on Saturday morning, but I probably will be drinking and watching this game. There's no reason for me to be drinking, but I'm going to be drinking and probably watching this game on Saturday morning. And then we got a football game to go to, and then also drinking during that. So this whole situation Saturday could end up being in a true travesty. And school's over. This could turn into a hazardous weekend for me, Nate.
Do it while you're young.
I am getting older though, Nate. I think my knowledge is getting better. I think my maturity is getting there.
Nah. I'm going to call it that.
Like I can start to get. I'm
Look at your
getting
wall.
close to where I can
Look
teach
over your
you.
shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah, that scenic view in my room. What are you talking about? This is beautiful in here.
You should be embarrassed that's your background every week on this podcast.
What should I have on there?
Not natural light. Natty
Natural ice. Thank you. That's right. It's not natural light. It's natural ice. You're right.
Natty ice. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Dustin's going to be there for this game, so he'll be doing live coverage on at the Knoll Game Day. It's been, I'll say,
is he going to be allowed?
They let him in last night, surprisingly.
No. Is his girlfriend going to let him?
Oh, no,
it's early in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, it is early in the day. She might be at work. She might be at work or something.
Yeah. Well, it's a 4:00 game, right?
No, FSU Florida's 11.
The basketball game. That's where he's going.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be at
so
the football game.
he'll be home by like 2:30.
Yeah.
Anything. It's really for him anything after 4:00.
So that probably negates coverage or live tweeting of the Florida State football game.
Yeah. That's definitely. There's going to be an excuse. There's
definitely not a 2 for that day.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he is. I've already worried about that because I'm going to be at the game and I'll do some tweeting here and there on my personal account. But
that'd be at work. So.
Yeah. Oh, we knew you weren't going to be live tweeting. You weren't.
Hey, I can live tweet.
Okay. Let's give Nate a game to tweet live for basketball this season.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
The Gardner Webb
I'll do it.
It's fun tweeting basketball games, I will say. I thought I wouldn't like it as much for the last couple of seasons, but like last night was fun. It was stressful, but I still had optimism that Florida State was going to win the game, so it was nice doing that. And when it comes to football, it's a lot of
I live tweet from my feed every game.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
It's more your tweets, Nate, during at least football games are fuck me. Fuck. I hate this shit. What the fuck is going on?
What in the fuck is going on?
My TV's off. Oh man, why is blank in the game?
Yeah, I'm sick of this shit. How many times are you gonna let the running back run the same play up the same fucking hole?
Yeah, that's been the whole entire. I think it's all of FSU Twitter though. So you're not.
How many times? Not that we care anymore, but how many times is Woodby gonna run around the blocker and take himself out of the play?
Yeah. Hey, could be going to Texas. Could be going to Texas over there. He wants to. He's more of a school guy. He's a big school guy, and that's great grad school over
wish
there.
Him luck.
Most certainly.
Austin's a fun city.
Yeah, I've never been.
It's not
really,
bad.
I've
heard a lot of young people are flocking over there. A lot of the tech companies and all that are jumping over there.
My only memory of Austin, Texas, is getting a parking ticket, trying to look at DKR.
DKR,
the football stadium.
Oh, okay.
My main memory of Austin is going to a big natural spring they have and walking up onto this big hill, and there's a bunch of topless females. I was like,
180 from Austin.
I was like, wow.
I wish I had your memory of Texas.
I was like, this is how they're doing it in Austin. I'm like, wow.
And let me look up the Austin Airbnbs there for the summer. All right, I just got that noted. Thank you, Nate, for that.
Yeah.
Let's give our Florida State versus UF score predictions on here right now for the thousands of people that want to know. They mainly want to hear Austin's, but we'll give our football score predictions.
I'm a little conflicted because I want people to still click my article tomorrow.
Oh yeah. I would say.
So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say I think Florida State will win in a tightly contested game. It'll be single digits. I'll just leave it at that so people can click my article tomorrow.
Yeah, click on that article tomorrow.
Please,
Awesome.
It's taking me all day.
Please. Yeah, 2,000 plus words.
Florida State 95, Florida 10.
What'd you say? Are you doing that same football crap against the rival?
I was going to say, if Florida State scores 95 points, I'll be jumping off the seat.
It's probably going to be like a 72 to 67 type game.
My prediction's not far off. For what it's worth.
Well, just got
I think it'll probably be
it's not far off.
Low to mid 70s versus high 60s, low 70s. I think it's going to be a closer game. I mean, I don't follow basketball nearly as much as Austin does, but if you watch Florida, they do shoot the ball real well, and Florida State can be a little susceptible to the teams that can hit the three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about is allowing them, because Florida State's done that in the last couple of seasons, allowing these guys just to have wide open threes. Luckily, last night a lot of them didn't go in, which was in Florida State's favor. But I'm going to go Florida State wins this one too. The streak stays alive. Leonard Hamilton is Mike White's father, and I'm going to go Florida State. I'm going to go Florida State 69.
Back to back, nice.
Yeah. I'm going to go 69, Florida State 69, Florida 61. Florida State doesn't have a crazy nail biter at the very end. And we'll have over-under on how long the game is, 2 hours. Will it cross 2 hours over-under?
2 hours and 17 minutes.
A 2 hour basketball game is
of game time.
That's good. Like that's what you expect. 'Cause that's what the TV slot is.
Mm-hmm.
When you have these two teams that play as sloppy as they have, it's going to be at least 220. At least.
All right, the score predictions are in. Everybody has predicted Florida State to win. Go check out Austin's score prediction tomorrow in his article. Let's jump into our preview of Florida State versus Duke. Man, oh man, oh man. It has felt like forever. This has been such a weird year for football and sports in general, but Florida State has almost not played a snap in about almost a month, practically. Let's just put it there. Practically a month. Norvell and Dillingham, I have written down here that have mentioned that they've really liked the last week and a half of practice. Seems like they're more mentally tuned in. Jordan Travis has had some really solid practices. He's really looking like he's over 100% too. So there's a lot to like about from what we're hearing during press conferences. Will that relay into Saturday against Duke? And what are you looking forward to watching against Duke, Nate?
Well, I mean, first thing I'm going to say is Florida State's 20 and over is Duke. So can't let the first loss happen this year. But frankly, these are two bad teams. Duke has 35 turnovers on the season.
Mm-hmm.
Chase Bryce is leading the country in interceptions with 13.
They picked a bad game to opt out.
They run the ball pretty well. Their two running backs, Jackson and I think the other guy's Durant, have combined for like 1,300 yards, and they've scored almost half of the touchdowns that Duke has scored. So they run the ball well, and Florida State has not stopped the run on a consistent basis. And Florida State is who's going to start on the defensive line. I think you see Fabian Lovett and Robert Cooper start inside, and I think that's going to be a net positive with Durden being gone. It's going to have to. You need a big game from Robinson and Kendo versus this running attack. But as bad as Florida State's been throwing the ball, Duke is worse. And Florida State's defense is letting up 38 points, I think, in conference play. So this is also a team that Duke can get healthy with. But I don't think that Duke's necessarily talented enough to win this game. They've allowed 37 sacks on the season. It's just not a good Duke team. And when you look at Florida State, Travis comes back. I think that's going to be that dynamic with him running the ball. My favorite player, Webb, is out, but I think you got to give more carries to Toafili. So I'm eager to see how he looks and who's going to step up at a receiver. The last game Florida State played, Wilson was, pretty. I thought he was pretty good, and I think Wilson is better than advertised. And Duke's not a great team on defense. They are, I believe, one of the teams that is worse than Florida State in terms of giving up points per game. Miami beat the shit out of them last week. It's just a different. This is typically a game where Florida State would have the second stringers in early in the third quarter, but it's a different time. So for me, I was just looking to see who steps up. It's been a month. There's been some positive stuff coming out of practices, so I want to see if that's carried over.
I thought it was a pretty interesting tweet and quote. I believe it was from I think it was Dillingham. He said something last week during practices saying that the last 3 practices at that time, he really saw the team dialed in, and it seemed like they were on like this right page. It was something weird, but he was definitely throwing shade at, I believe, a most recent guy that plans on transferring with Corey Durden, I believe. It was kind of more of a locker room kind of quote there that he was bringing up. I don't know if you remember seeing that, Nate, or not, but he was just saying that the whole team seems to be kind of more just with it. Not a lot of distractions that they were dealing with are no longer.
Well, when shitheads leave the team, you don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm interested too, obviously a month. Florida State is on just hanging on by a thread to have enough players playing this scholarship-wise. But, position changes. What are you guys thinking? Maybe sloppy team play after almost a month of not playing. What do you guys – do you think it'll be more sloppy or
– It should be sloppy game.
Sloppy.
Yeah.
Sloppy like a sloppy Joe.
Yeah. Nasty. Yeah, I'd kind of expect the same thing too. I think there's a lot of positives though, like Jordan Travis being fully healthy, ready to go. But when it comes to just not being on the field for a month after you just went home for the weekend too, just such a weird season, weird time, and in total, it's just odd. But I think it is going to be a pretty nasty game.
Honestly, Duke is bad enough that Florida State can play. They somehow play like they did in the first half versus Carolina. They're going to blow this Duke team out. Duke is not a good team. But we've said that a few times this year about who Florida State's played, and Florida State has looked just as bad or worse. So, for me, I just want to see some of the younger kids play. I think it's been kind of seen and realized now that the youth is the direction of this program moving forward. So, I want to see if they follow through in some of that talk and play those younger kids that are going to be leaned on in the future. So, it's 2 games left. There's a lot of debate on just how important the W's are versus the reps. That's more important than anything is getting the game reps. But you got to beat Duke. You got to beat Wake Forest. I mean, you got to beat those 2 teams. I mean, you need some momentum heading into recruiting. So you can't just chalk it up to getting reps and the result is the result. You got to play to win, and you kind of need 2 W's to wrap up the season.
Yeah, speaking about the 2 W's to wrap it up, what are you guys looking for the rest of the season? You finally are able to add on 2 more games. Are you looking for younger? Obviously, the young movement has been going on for multiple games now, but what are you guys looking for? Seeing who your future leaders are.
Yeah, I want to see some young guys, and I want to see some guys compete. Effort, and I want to see a little less rotation with guys. I want to see a little more of the Toa Phillies. I want to see a little bit more of the Brian Robinsons. Where's Corey Wren been? You have a guy who's one of the fastest guys in college football who has hardly played. I want to see, the last 2 games of Nas. I want to see him go out, play well. I want to see, can Kendo, get some sacks against a team that's given up 35 sacks this year. If they can't get sacks with Duke, they just
see you next season.
See you next season. Correct.
Yeah.
I want to see just how much they use Gainer. Guy who leads the team in tackles.
Yeah.
I want to see that kind of stuff. I want to see if these kids respond to Fuller, or if it's the same old.
Yeah, I think if it's the same old, then the things that we've been hearing about the boosters pushing for maybe a possible
I think that comes
new
to fruition.
candidate. If that ends up happening, then that's if Duke puts up
30.
Yeah. Yeah. If Duke puts up 30, then I think that's about all she wrote. I think that is interesting to keep an eye on how the defense looks for Adam Fuller, because I think there's just too much stuff going on inside that program, too much talk about, it's not like at a hot seat situation, but just too much talk is coming out about it. And we'll see. We'll see if this defense is dialed in behind Adam Fuller. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Continuity is important. Everything we've talked about and beat the dead horse all season. But for me, the biggest thing is that the lack of buy-in. That's a concern. So.
Yeah. I also want to see who's going to be the other corner. Obviously, you don't have Asante Samuel Jr. for the rest of the season. I want to see who's going to step up. Obviously, I think I'm going to say obviously like 50 times tonight. That's one thing I've got to stop saying.
Honestly, they don't have the numbers, though. They're so beat up at that position.
And Damari Tate's true freshman cornerback that you probably would have wished to have for these last 2 games isn't
Tate
eligible this season.
Tate would have been playing. Tate would have taken someone's minutes this year.
Yeah.
But that's not even an option. If you think about it, they really have 2 healthy corners.
Yep. They'll probably be Brownlee.
Jones and Brownlee. That's it.
Yep.
Dent's still out. Dent's features up. That's another topic for discussion. But who's going to play corner? You got 2 guys. Who's going to play behind him? 2. Dante's gone. Dustin's out for the year. Who's going to play? That's going to be interesting. Dent's out. Does Travis Jay slide over to the corner? I think that'd be interesting to watch. You're playing a walk-on. That's the kind of stuff that, with the low numbers that Florida State has right now, you got to consider COVID and the fact how injured this team is and how beat up they are in the back end. So it's going to be interesting to see who they have playing corner.
Yep. I want to see a lot more. I want to see Brian Robinson have a target thrown to him. And I think also, too, I think you're going to see the offensive line play better during this game. Obviously, the competition is going to be different than most this season. Duke is Duke, and it is what it is. But I think with the fully healthy Jordan Travis, we've seen it in the beginning of the season. It makes this team, makes the offense move better and makes the offensive line work better. Because you obviously don't have Darius Washington anymore. I want to see also keep an eye on Dante Lucas. We were here. It's been such a weird month for Dante Lucas, in and out. Is he staying? Is he gone? Is Atkins
clean out his locker? But now now he may be staying. So.
He's on his last. This is his last life.
Should have given the pot.
Say. Yeah. That's the thing. So I think there's a lot of things to look forward to the next, and keep an eye on the next 2 games and enjoy while we have it, while we have Florida State football. COVID-19 is just a total bitch. So we'll see. Score predictions: Florida State versus Duke, 4 p.m. inside Duke. What is this? ACC Network, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The Battle of the Bastards, I think this should be called. The Battle of the Bastards, Game of Thrones edition. It is going to be the 2 uglies going at it. Just fighting each other, mauling each other, just going to be entertainment. Should be on pay-per-view, in my opinion. 2 ugly chicks just friggin' going at it.
You want me to play devil's advocate first? Just get it out the way?
Oh, of course. Why wouldn't? That's why we have you here, Austin.
Duke's winning. 31-23. I hope I'm wrong.
Oh.
The only way Duke wins is if Bryce plays out of his fucking mind and they run for 300 yards. Duke's a very bad football team.
I'm not saying that. We're bad too, though.
They are, but I don't think they're bad enough to lose. I think I think it's an ugly 23-12, something like that.
I'm waiting on this team to show me something differently. I want them to change. I'm just waiting on them to change my mind on just anything outside of them not showing any effort. and just not wanting to compete.
Oh, man. Austin just went full on.
I'm also trying to like reverse the psychology. I want the football team to lose so basketball wins.
Oh, you nerd. You basketball nerd. Of course you want that to happen. Unbelievable. Now, I will tell you what, if I do – all right, I'm sorry. I'm just getting distracted. Cam Akers must be like going off or something. I've just seen like 30 tweets in the last 2 minutes. So if someone can update me or the Discord can let me know what's going on. But Cam Akers, yards. I think he's having it just as like worldwide debut.
He has 135 yards.
Yeah. He's eating the Patriots alive, and I love it. Love you, Bill Belichick.
So I honestly, I think that Florida State can beat this team by 10 or more because I think they turn the ball over too much. They don't have a lot. I think they're gonna come in and want to run the ball, take the ball out of Bryce's hands. They do a pretty good job of rushing the passer. I think that Travis has shown the ability to punish those teams that maybe over pursue. I think he'll rush for 100. I just think that it's an ugly 23-12 win. I just do not see. I see them losing to Wake Forest because Wake Forest can score, but not this week.
I'm gonna go Florida State 31-17. A nice win in Doak Campbell Stadium to end off the season. The seniors play well. It'll be interesting to see what they do because it's so weird to get another year of eligibility. Like, what's going on with that? What kind of senior day are we going to get some nuggets there while they're walking out on the field? Like, I don't even know how that's going to go on. I have no clue. It's going to be a weird time in Doak on Saturday at 4. But if Florida State does end up losing this game, I can go and guarantee you that I don't know.
On Twitter.
I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get on here and have an instant reaction, guys. I just don't know if safely I'll be able to make it home and do that. So we'll see.
Well, speaking of instant reaction, are we going to do a dual instant reaction podcast at the end of the day?
That's probably what it would be. No matter. No, we're going to block off completely basketball. We're going to say screw FSU versus UF Austin. We can have you on here, but we're not going to let you talk anything about the rivalry and the basketball. No.
I'm just not going to talk then. I'll just be here to break everyone's cameras or everyone's screens. That's all I'll be here for.
That's all it is. Oh, yeah, we're not going to talk. We're not going to do that. Yeah, no. If that does end up, if we are able to do an instant reaction, then yes, we're most certainly going to talk about Florida State versus UF. Any other comments that need to be made, gentlemen, before I shout out our last 10 Chief tier members on Patreon?
Nah, man. Early signing day is approaching, so see how that goes.
Yeah, busy.
It looks like 13 out of the 15 commitments are going to sign early. I know 24/7. I'll shout them out. They've been all over. The guys signing. It looks like 2 guys aren't going to sign early, and that's the 2 rumored guys who've been really on the fence about flipping. So we'll see how that goes.
So you're suggesting people get into the Discord and sign up for Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're saying. Okay, good stuff. Let me go and shout out. We didn't really talk about Peyton, though, the commit out of Miami, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, it's a huge need. Florida State. And I wrote a little breakdown. Not going too much into it, but he's very much has the same build of Brian Burns at the same stage, tall, lanky. He really relies on speed, but also does a really good job of using his hands at this stage. It understands the reach that he has and how long he is. He's a long 6'5". And he's got the long arms. He can extend, keep the lineman off him, and he's super athletic in that he can, even if he gets pushed upfield, he's able to redirect the lineman and stop in case. So he's a natural pass rusher. I don't think he's going to be a traditional outside linebacker. I think he's going to be a guy who eventually becomes a DN. I think he's a guy who can be depended on next year, but he's got to get to like 220, 225. I don't think that's necessarily out of the realm of possibility of once he gets into a strength and conditioning program. He's got the build to carry 230, 240. I think that, just like Brian Burns, Brian Burns was able to keep his athleticism as he got bigger. Peyton's going to have to do the same thing, but he's a natural pass rusher. He understands the angles. He understands, how to get to the quarterback. He can bend. He's a flexible athlete, and those are guys you got to get as many of those guys as you can, because those are guys that are just pieces of mold, that you can just form how you want them. So it's a great get for Florida State in terms of hitting a need. So that's a good look for Coach Novell and his staff of working. They worked the whole time, even when he committed. We saw it with Keon Coleman. Despite that, his commitment to Kansas, and I stayed in touch with him and have stayed in touch. Florida State kept pushing him, and that's why they're one of the few he's strongly considering, is because they have not let up. We have all the shit you see on Twitter about the recruiting class and the inability to recruit, and that's a whole conversation for another day. But the staff is working, and we'll see. There's a lot of hints and talk about landing a couple other guys that are out there. We'll see how that goes. So I'm just interested to see how it all unfolds. I'm ready to see how the staff does with some normalcy.
So, Nate, that wasn't real quick. I'm just putting it out there. It wasn't real quick.
That's real quick.
That is 4-star new commit to Florida State, outside linebacker that Nate was just talking about. Good get for the Noles from down south, Miami area. Good get. Very talented guy.
So I guess Miami's not closed.
Miami, the gates might be starting to open a little bit. What's going on?
Did they get approval from Luke and the council, or what, man?
I don't know. Something might be happening there.
And what happens with Lawrence Seymour?
Yeah. What's going
Makes
on?
you wonder.
Mm-hmm. Let me shout out our last 10 Patreon members. These Patreon members are chief tiers, the highest tier inside of our Discord. Inside the Discord, we give insider news, nuggets, recruiting nuggets, a lot from Nate. It's a great experience. Austin, also myself and Nate will go in and do bat caves, where we go in and talk to you guys directly, privately, and give you guys updates on news, or we'll talk about our latest nuggets that we've dropped and everything. What?
Did you see what Moore put in the fucking Hear the Spear chat?
I don't even want to know.
It's a picture of us three, and then it's a picture of Karlos, and it's a picture of that cartoon character. Dustin.
Oh, no. That's brutal. Oh, that's brutal. I mean, Dustin deserves it. But, yeah. Definitely join the Discord like Nate's talking about. Go and join. The community's awesome. But let me shout out our 10 latest chief tier members. Daniel, I'm always terrible with names. Byron? I'm probably just completely scorched that name. Tom Rogowski, Todd Stroud, Brantley Good, Cade Giddens, and Jordan Neer, Nina Nicole, Michael Mathis, Joel Rush, and Chris Silva. God, I sounded like I has been drinking for a while. I haven't had an ounce of alcohol.
You sound like Dustin trying to pronounce Odell Hakens.
And now I'm probably going to cry myself to sleep tonight, because I do not want to be related to or compared with Dustin Lewis ever again. So I really appreciate that, Austin, and off the podcast. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you're on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, retweet or hit that like button. You don't have to. We're not forcing you to. If you're on iTunes, though, we definitely appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. So then you'll be notified every time we release a new episode. If you leave a 5-star rating, leave a review, we will talk about it here on the show. We will be here hopefully for an instant reaction to both Florida State versus UF and also Florida State versus Duke on Saturday evening. So keep your eyes out for that, and ears and your nose, whatever you want to use to stay in contact with us. Make sure you guys get in the Discord, and you guys have a great rest of y'all's week and enjoy the sports this weekend. See you guys.
Hey, rest in peace, Debo.
Yeah, I saw that. That happened while live on here. Debo from Famous Movie 2. Friday passed away at 62.
Yep.
Terrible. Awful. Maybe we'll put the clip of one of the clips in there at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
See you guys. Enjoy the weekend. Peace.
What's up, y'all? What's up, Red? Thanks for the bike. What you got on my 40, homie?
I thought you had $200.
I do. But I won't spend Red's money.
I'm broke.
Give it up, Red.
Come on, Debo, stall him out.
Where you got my 40, homie?
I don't have nothing.
Yeah, you got something. Why you tripping, Debo? Shut up, punk, I'll knock your ass out.
Oh, man, that's messed up. Won't you give him back his chain?
What chain?
Yeah, what chain?
Hey, man, why y'all didn't help me?
Man, I'm high.
Man, that's fucked up, man. If it was y'all, I would have helped y'all.
What about the time he tried to choke me in Smoke backyard?
Yeah.
Oh, that was different.
Man, that's jumping.
Sit your ass down.
Man, I got mind control over Debo. He be like, shut the fuck up. I be quiet. But when he leave, I be talking again.
Man, my grandmama gave me that chain.
I'm tripping hard.
Only on people he know. He don't be pulling that shit on them fools around the corner.